Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and let's get started on 1.1, day 2. So yesterday we talked about simplifying our absolute values and that they're always positive, okay? So we're going to talk about rational numbers, okay? So we talked about integers, and those are our counting numbers that are both positive and negative. But rational numbers we deal with a lot more. So those are numbers that can be written as a fraction, okay? Or if they're in decimal form, they either end in zeros or repeat digits. And we'll explain that more as we go through. Now, a lot of times in our book, we will see this statement right here, okay? The definition of a rational number is a number that can be written in the form of m over n, where m and n are integers with n not equal to 0, okay? And that's a very confusing statement. It's got a lot of math speak in it, so let's break that down. Okay, so it says a number. We know that what a number is, just any number, right? That can be written in the form of m over n. What that means is fraction. Okay, so it's a number that can be written as a fraction, where m and n are integers. Okay, those are our counting numbers, right? We talked about before. Okay, with n not equal to 0, and n is the bottom number, or the denominator, as we would call it with our wonderful math terms. Okay, so the denominator can never be 0, right, which is what this part means here. So we just need to know we can't have n as 0. So basically they're saying write a number with a fraction, and a fraction means that we have a number over another number. Okay, so don't let this phrase scare you. When you see it, all it means is write the number as a fraction and reduce. So if I'm going to just get rid of this here for a second. Okay, we'll get rid of all this wonderfulness. Okay, so again, this is what you should really have written down. So what this means is write as a fraction and reduce. So when you see this big long sentence, we're not going to freak out, we're not going to panic, we're going to be like, Miss Hawes told me all this means is write as a fraction and reduce. Okay? So we're going to circle all the numbers that are rational, and rational numbers are just numbers that can be written as a fraction. Okay? So 4 over 0. Well, 4 over 0 is not a rational number because our denominator is 0. So definitely not a rational number. We can take that out. We're going to look at 3. 3 is not written as a fraction right now, but we can make it look like a fraction because any whole number can be written over 1. So 3 over 1 is in fact a rational number. 1 over 3 is a fraction. The denominator is not 0, so it's a rational number. 9 over 2. Again, it's a number over a number, a fraction. The denominator is not 0, so it is in fact a rational number. Okay? Go ahead and think for a second, is negative 1/2 a rational number? It is. It's a fraction. It's negative, but they said the numbers on top and the numbers on bottom, or our numerator and denominator, can be integers, and integers can be negative. So negative fractions are still rational numbers. Okay? So the next part is on the next page. We're going to write each number as a rational number. So if we look at 23. 23 right now is not written as an official rational number. We know it's rational, but we would write that as 23 over 1. We want to make it look like a fraction. Okay, so any whole number, we just put the number 1 on the bottom and we move on with life. Okay, same thing if it's negative. We're just going to have negative 45 all over 1. Okay, now with mixed numbers, okay, when we want to write them as an official rational number, we don't want them as a mixed number. So we're going to change them to a fraction, okay, an improper fraction. So remember, when we want to change a mixed number to an improper fraction, we do the denominator times the whole number. So we're going to multiply, and then we add our numerator. So 9 times 11 would be 99, and 99 plus 7 would be 106. And then we always keep the same denominator. So we've now written this as a rational number. We knew it was rational before, but because it asked to write as a fraction of m over n, we're going to write it this way. Okay? All right, let's look at negative 16 over 21. Okay? So negative 16 over 21, The first thing I'm going to ask is, it's already as a fraction, so we're good there, but can it be reduced? Okay, so things that go into 16 would be 8, 2, and 4, and those things don't go into 21. So we're just going to rewrite it. Okay, negative 16 over 21, and we move on with life. It is written as a fraction as m over n, where m and n are integers, and n is not equal to 0. Okay, so we should always, always, always reduce our fractions. Okay, if we look at 53 over 11, 53 is not going to have any numbers that go into 11 because 11 is prime. 11 doesn't go into 53. So we are just going to have 53 over 11. And that is written as a fraction, as a rational number. Okay. So again, if you're asked to write something as a rational number, where it says write as m over n, where m and n are integers, that wonderful phrase we had at the beginning, all that means is write as a fraction with a number over a number and reduce if possible. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'll give you one to try on Edpuzzle. I'll give you two. So go ahead and write this as a m over n, where m and n are integers, or as a fraction. Okay, let's do 5/3. And then let's try negative, I'm not going to make it negative. So let's do 6 and 3 halves. Okay, so go ahead and try both of those, and then we'll come back to it, okay? All right, now we're going to go back to expressing decimals as a fraction m over n, okay? So if we want to write these as a rational number, so remember when we're looking at decimals, we look at the last place value. So the 4 is in the tenths place. So I always write just the decimal number in my numerator, and then since it's the tenths place, I write my 10 in the denominator. Now we're thinking, is this my final answer? I'm going to go with no, because it's not reduced. So we're going to simplify that to be 2/5. Okay. Same thing with this next one. I'm going to look at my place value. My place value is tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I know my denominator is going to be 1,000. And then I'm going to put 186 in the numerator. Now just make sure you carry that negative along for the ride here. Okay. And I can tell, since they're both even numbers, I can reduce them. So I'm going to see what goes into 186, and I know 2 is going to go into 186. So, and negative 186. So the negative is just going to come along for the ride. And 186 divided by 2 is 93. Okay? And if we need to do that math off to the side, we can. And half of 1,000, or 1,000 divided by 2, would be 500. Okay? And 500 is not divisible by 3. So that looks like we're completely reduced, okay? So we can call that our rational number. Now, if we have a whole number in front of the decimal, I would just write this as a mixed number first. So I know I'm going to have 30 and the extra, right, which is going to be my fraction. I'm in the tenths place, and my numerator would be 5. Okay. And again, I'm going to reduce this before I change it into an improper fraction. So I'd have 30 and 1/2, because 5 goes into itself once and 5 goes into 10 twice. And now I can change this to an improper fraction. And just as a reminder, we're going to do 2 times 30 and then plus 1. So 2 times 30 is going to give us 60, plus 1 is 61 over 2. So I've now written 30.5 as a rational number in the form of m over n. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at this next one. So why don't you go ahead and try it for me as an Edpuzzle question. And as you're coming back, again, I'm going to just keep that -1 as my front number. And then I'd have 48 in my numerator, because that's my decimal part. And 8 is in the hundredths place. And I'm going to reduce this before I change anything. So 100 is going to, and 48 are both divisible by 4, or I could do 2 twice. So 48 divided by 4 would be 12, and 100 divided by 4 would be 25. And then I can do my wonderful multiplication and adding, so I'm going to multiply this, and then add this. Now I'm just going to go ahead and ignore that negative. It's just going to come along for the ride. So 1 times 25 is 25, plus 12 would be a wonderful 37. So I'd have negative 37 over 25 if I needed to write that as m over n. Since I had you try that last one on your own, I won't have you try the current one on your own. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just skip this for right now. We can talk about that in class as we go back. All right, I think we are all good, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.